Okay, folks. Well, I'm just going to turn the video on for a moment so that you can see me. I don't know. Hello, here I am. It's all blocky and laggy, but just so that you know who you're looking at. And welcome to our webinar series for the winter to spring. And our first session today is marketing with Biblio Tech. It's a little bit of a play on words here. I'm going to bow out of the video so you could just get back to the picture of me with the Eiffel Tower in the background. So we're quite happy to have Lisbeth here, who's co-presenting with me. Lisbeth Baudry, Lisbeth Baudry is a teacher librarian at École Lac des Bois in Prince George. She's comfortable with technology, she says, but not an early adopter. And she's taught English grade 6 and 7 and shared a grade 2 French immersion class, so that's great. She's currently the bibliothécaire at Lac des Bois, and so we're happy to have her come and share her experiences with technology. So the way it's going to work today is we are we're jointly presenting, and so Lisbeth will take over from me in a moment, and we'll work our way through the presentation. We have until 5. We're going to try and wrap up maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so before the end and see if you have any questions. And the material for today is actually available also on a Google Doc. So as we get a little further in, you'll see the Google Doc. No one has access to the mic except for Lisbeth and I, unfortunately. That means you get to hear our voices. And but the chat window is open, so if you have questions, please chat away. I'll try and keep an eye on that while Lisbeth is talking, and maybe vice versa when I'm talking, and hopefully we can answer your questions and have some fun as we go. So I'm just going to advance to the next slide. And can everyone see that slide, just to make sure that, want to just give me a yes in the chat box just to make sure that the slide is working. Yep, okay, good. So we're moving along. So Biblio Tech, Jumpstart Your Marketing Efforts, and the subtitle is Exploring Tools and Techniques for Promoting Your Program to Students and Staff. And so this is in fact the shortened URL for you to get to the Google Doc, and the Google Doc has all of the links that we're going to mention today, but the actual slideshow doesn't have clickable links, but that's just a way for you to get back to it. And you'll just notice that this shortened URL is cap sensitive, so capital R, small j, small x, small k, capital B, capital F. So, okay, so we're going to start with screencasting, and just one little blurb about that before I pass it over to Lisbeth, because she's going to talk about her experience. Screencasting is basically a made-up word that's kind of like broadcasting, except it's from your computer screen. So it's recording your screen activity plus your audio to explain a concept or demonstrate a skill. And so, Lisbeth, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you take it away.
Okay, so I think this is a neat program. You can download it for free. It's called, the one I'm using, as you can see on the bottom here, is Screencast-O-Matic. So, and it's a program that I use to make short videos of lessons that I'm often repeating. And so, and also if your student needs to do it at home or your teacher needs to do something at home, then you can load it up on your Learning Commons. And this is one I made recently, and you can see on the title here, it's a screencast to show how to use the catalog and where to find it. And what's neat when the program runs is you get this little yellow circle that shows where you're clicking when you're making these videos. So this was how to use the catalog and how to get to it when you're on the computer, but I think you probably have to be on the Learning Commons. Another example that I've done is we have an H drive or a hard drive at school, and when the students do work at school, they put their files on there. And then we have a system where the kids can actually, at home, access those files, download them, type away at them, and load them back up, and then they can use them at school. And it's good for the teachers as well. And it's not that easy to do, so I made a screencast that I've posted on my Learning Commons blog also about how to do that, how to get into this program and how to use it. And The other places I can see using it is we pay for a movie license copyright, and then the teachers can download movies with this license and access them. And so that would be another good thing to make a screencast about. Or else, say if your teachers use a lot of National Film Board films and don't remember how to access them, that would be something good. And or if there's like a reservation system that's all digital and you want to show the students how to step through that, it's kind of nice to have the video. But of course they're going to have online access to do it. And it's not that difficult. You can download the free version here, and you can. I just use the free recorder. I haven't never bought the entire thing. And you install the program, and it doesn't need administrator access when you download it, so you can put it on a school computer without a problem, without having to get your administration in there. And then you just open up the program, and you can record anything on the screen, and you can see that you can decide how much of the screen, just playing with where the corners of the screen are, how much of the screen you want to record. Do you want to zoom in and just record something small, or do you want to actually record something bigger? And you can change the size of the screen as you're making your recordings. And you want to make sure that your sound is working, so there's a microphone here, and you watch that little bar. And down at the bottom here, you press record, and it starts recording. And then you can also stop it as well, and then resize it. So I don't know if you can quite see it here. So here I have recorded it. I have 4 minutes. And then I might want to change my screen size, so you can see that this is small. And then when I've got all of the steps that I wanted, I can click on done. And I find I have to make a little bit of a script as I do it, because you don't get, when you do the free one, you don't get the editing option. So you need to, I tend to record it 2 or 3 times till I like my final product, and I write a script and I make sure that the key points that I want to include are included in the script. And the initial program, you could only save them as YouTube, but now when you look at it, you can save it as YouTube. So I can save it as YouTube, so our school has a YouTube site. But you can also just save it as a video file, and then you can have the file that you repost and use it that way. And so if it's something that I want all the students to see, then I'll post it on my Learning Commons, and if it's something more for staff, I post it just on my staff drive. And as you're videoing, you can see that yellow circle, and that's when the students watch it, they can see how what you're pointing at and what you're clicking at, because it's highlighted with this yellow circle. And I really like that feature of these videos, because you can highlight something that you want them to read but not necessarily click on it. It's just following your mouse around. And I found that it's nice because I just keep re-showing the videos. Like I'll show it during a library introduction, and then as the kids need it and they remember where it is, or they go looking for it, they can find it, and then they can use it when they're ready to use it. So that's my experience with Screencast-O-Matic, and I just find it a super useful program just to have that continuous view of what you're doing on your screen as you go through a number of steps, and being able to talk to it as well, right? And the one I did, I talked a lot. Also, you can talk about, you know, internet safety and the other pieces that you want to be part of the lesson. You go with it. So, if there's any questions, you can type in there.
That's great. Yeah, that's great, Lisbeth. I just wanted to mention a couple of other things. That Screencast-O-Matic also has a web-based version as well, so you don't have to download it if, for whatever reason, you just want to use the web-based version, which is kind of fun. Depending on what system you're running, you know, it may not be happy to be downloaded. The other thing that I do like is that the file sizes are not gigantic, because you can also do screencasts with QuickTime on a Macintosh, and the latest version of QuickTime gives you very, very nice high definition, beautiful videos with everything so crisp and everything, but they're humongous sizes, they're giant, and so that's a real problem for sharing that around. So the ability to just tuck the video up to YouTube and then share the YouTube clip, that's really handy. So Donnie wants to know that, so the camera picks up the screenshot or a video of the screen. Yeah, it's a video, yeah, that's right. And what's nice about it is you can demo showing someone a website, you can demo showing them how to do something within a program, and it just captures the video of what's happening on the screen as you're doing it and the audio of your voice explaining. So, yeah. Any other questions for Lisbeth?
Yeah, so I just find it a really useful tool for something that you're teaching every year. So every year you're teaching the catalog, and so you can do the screenshot, and then you don't miss out on maybe details that you want to include, and so you can practice your presentation and then talk, okay, this is where you find the catalog, these are the steps you do for different kinds of research, like are you looking for an author or a subject, right, and how to use things to use
right.
things.
So the Richmond TLs want to know, if you upload the videos on your blog, you put a link on your blog, how do you do that?
So what I've used so far is I've saved them as YouTube. So I've saved them as at YouTube, but I think on this site right there, that's the image of that video. So the first one I just saved as YouTube, and the one that I'm pointing at now is a video file that's just saved on my desktop. So I don't know if you put it in if you'd need to add more information, but that's the link to the video. So I think it would depend how you load it up with the player. So I haven't yet tried to load up the video file. It's the advantage of having it as YouTube because the player is all built in and everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, Donnie has a question about how do you, if I understand your question correctly, Donnie, how do you look at another, how do you look at this while the player is working, or the screencast-o-matic is working? And in my experience, what I've done is, on a relatively large screen, I've drawn my recording space as being about a quarter the size of the screen. And so that allows me to have whatever things I want to show, I have it outside the recording window, and then I can just drag it in and talk about it, and then drag it out and drag something else in. So that gives me a bit of a working recording place and then a marshalling space around it. Does that answer your question?
And I guess for me, what I do is, I think of students, like when you hear the TED talk about the Khan Academy, he talks about how students can learn at their own rate with those videos. So I show my students this, and I just have 2 or 3 tabs on my internet open, and I have the YouTube playing, and then I say, okay, the first step says, this is step 1. Then we stop the YouTube, we go to the other window, and we do step 1. And then we go flip back to the other tab, and we play it a bit more, and we stop it, and then, so I actually step them through. You could do it as a shared window, like the way Gordon's talking about, or you can just do it as 2 tabs, because the kids are quite familiar with that. And I really like the idea that you can, kids are used to doing that. Stop the YouTube, think about, okay, I've done 2 steps. Oh no, I showed 3 steps, I don't remember. Well, we can just move the little tab back, restart the video at the exact second we want, and start again. And it's, yeah, I just like that ability of YouTube to be able to just stop and watch the piece you want and then do the steps and flip back and forth. So that's how I use it.
Right, and so I think one of the great strengths of this is particularly where we have things that we explain over and over and over again. And sometimes you can tell people, or you can show them a picture, or you can give them some text, but boy, having someone handhold and walk you through it makes such a huge difference. So yeah, I'm a big fan of webcasts. In fact, I had a Richmond TL ask me a question at one point about solid shelf, and I thought, okay, well, this is going to be really complicated to write an email. So I just fired up Screencast-O-Matic, did a quick little demo of me doing it, and then just entered the link, and it was done. So. Okay, so if there's no more questions, then we can maybe move on to the next section of our of the show. Thank you, Beth, and feel free to chime in as we go. So one of the purposes behind our presentation this evening is really to think about how we can use a technology that's easily available, apps on the iPad, applications on the desktop machine, to really promote our library programs. And a lot of these are very easy to use, very quick to use, and we can get a big bang for our buck. So the Screencast-O-Matic, as an example, it's a very low learning curve, and it allows you just to create really quick tutorials, in-services, demonstrations that you can post on your website, send to your teachers, make available for your students. So the next little section is to talk about some iPad apps, and I really like the idea of teacher librarians being able to provide really quick book reviews on their blog or library website. And you want something that's easy enough to do that you can do it at the drop of a hat and it's not going to turn into a huge production. So I've lined up a few apps here, 30 Hands. There's one called Shadow Puppet, which I think we're just calling Puppet these days, but the Shadow Puppet was the original name. There's the camera roll itself on your iPad or iPhone and the app called Splice. And then there's Keynote, which is both an iPad app and a desktop application for the Mac. So my suggestion is to, you can use any one of these to try for a 30-second, it doesn't even have to be any longer than that, but a 30-second teaser about a new book that you're bringing into the library. About 30 seconds is probably all the patience that your students might have. So let me just walk you through what some of these will look like. How many of you have seen 30 Hands in action? I'm just looking to see for some yeses or some nos. Okay, yeah, so we've got some people, yeah, yeah. Okay, so 30 Hands is basically, it's you create a slideshow and then you talk on top of the slides and it exports it as a mini movie. And so the slides will play one after the other with your voiceover, and the resulting movie can be put on YouTube and then embedded on your blog, or there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And all you really need is some kind of a book cover picture, a couple of shots of inside pages, and then maybe something for a final word. You really want to create some suspense or ask a question or get the students excited about that. I would consider having a standard first slide for all of your book talks, because that way then people, when they look at it, they go, oh yeah, it's a book talk coming up. And all I did here was I just took I actually just used PowerPoint to just take a picture of my head on an existing graphic. But I mean, you can do anything you like, really, just as long as it's recognizable as your book talk slide. So anyway, so this then would be a picture that I would put on my camera roll on my iPad, and then I would just upload the pictures one after the other from my camera roll. I would take those first, and here we see in 30 Hands a place where you can marshal your slides, and you can drag them around so that they're in the order you want, so that you're ready to go. And then basically you pull up the first slide, you hit the record button, and your voice gets recorded on top. When you move to the next slide, then you can record on top of the next slide, and so on and so on. Now, what I really like about this is that you can re-record any of the slides separately from each other, which is nice. So you can, when you're listening to the preview, and you think, oh no, slide 3, that was awful, you can just re-record on top of slide 3. And each of the pictures can also be annotated before you record the audio. So if you need to circle something or put a word on the screen or put an arrow somewhere to just make that picture a little bit more interesting. And then finally, you've got some options for publishing. The free version lets you publish the video to your camera roll, and then that that movie can then be sent to YouTube. You can download it, you can attach it to an email or whatever you like. If you keep it relatively short, then the file size is not gigantic, and then it just makes a perfect quick and dirty book talk. If you've got your cover slide, that's always going to be the same, then the kids know when they look at your blog, oh, here's another book talk coming up. Great way, I think, to promote books in your collection. Any questions about that?
So you'd have to do, it's an app for iPads. Is there anything similar that would be on Microsoft?
You know, you could do something similar on PowerPoint where you would record your voice on the slides, and then I think you can export your PowerPoint as a movie. And so you just have to fiddle with the settings a little bit to make sure that the audio plays. But you know, the iPad is such an easy way to do it. I would almost say, you know, that needs to be part of your basic equipment in your library. At least one iPad mini, please, for the teacher librarian to use. But you're right, Donnie, this would be a great thing for kids to do for each other, or maybe an older class, create little book talks for younger kids, make it kind of exciting to watch. That would be fun. And Richmond TL say, I can see this for an independent book report. Yeah, you know what's great is that it just becomes a different way of presenting your learning. And if you have kids who are a little bit shy about the stand and deliver, they can practice a whole bunch of times and then just do it, just play it for the class. So that's really handy. So well, let's just look at the next one here. Oh yeah, so the question is apps used on iPads, not MacBooks. Yeah, so there are some applications that have a MacBook version and an iPad version, so Keynote is an example of that. But these first few here are in fact for the iPad or the iPhone, because a number of them will also work on the iPhone too. And I haven't explored, but I know that some of them also have Android versions. So if you wanted to check in the Google App Store, you might see if some of those things are there. But iPads tend to be pretty ubiquitous these days in school, so you probably make a good case for why you absolutely have to have one in your library. So Shadow Puppet's a similar one, similar workflow to 30 Hands, but with the Shadow Puppet you basically record the whole thing in one go. You can add music, you can overlay text and draw on the screen while you're talking. So with 30 Hands you have to do your drawing and then it's static and then you just record your sound on it. Whereas with Shadow Puppet you can actually annotate and draw as you go, which kind of makes the finished product a little bit more fun. Again, the final product gets exported to your camera roll as a video, and then that video can be put on YouTube. And that's another thing I'd suggest, because you're not putting pictures of students up here, I'd suggest just getting yourself a YouTube channel as a place to hold some of these things. And if you have a Gmail account already, you automatically have a YouTube account because YouTube is a Google product. And you can make these videos not discoverable, but you can still share the link so that people can view them if they have the link. So that's a great way to share that. A third thing is using just the tools on your iPhone or your iPad, which is the camera itself. Take video, take stills, and then the Splice app is really like a poor man's version of iMovie. Very easy to use. You can pull in your movies and your camera pictures off the camera roll, put them in whatever order you want. It lets you put transitions between the slides or between the movie. You can even put an opening frame with a piece of text on it. And there's the opportunity to import a music track if you want underneath it, just to make it sound a little bit more fun. And again, this is the sort of thing that the final product can be exported as its own movie, and then that can be put up on YouTube. So these are 3 ways to make fun, relatively easy, although we're kind of going from super simple to slightly more difficult. 30 Hands is so easy because it has so few options. Shadow Puppet a little bit more in the way of options. Splice gives you lots more control over what your end product looks like. But relatively easy to use, and your final product then is a quick little talk about a new book that you have. The thing with all of these technologies is that it can't be too complicated, otherwise you're just never going to do it, right? You're going to do it once and you're going to say, oh, that was so much work, I'm never going to get around to it. these apps allow you quite easily in a little 10-minute window that you might have to quickly whip off a 30-second book trailer about a new product that you've got in your library, and then you can put it on your blog or play it for your classes. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to take that as thumbs up. Okay.
And I'm thinking that I have a library club, and I think as someone mentioned that the students could do it, but also if you have a library club and you have some new things, that might be a nice little project for them to do and prepare for the website.
Absolutely, and sometimes you have those keener kids that they just love library and books, that they'd be so happy to do anything that hand them the iPad Mini and say, hey, why don't you take the 5 newest books and do a quick little promo on them. They'd love that. That'd be a lot of fun. So now Keynote is kind of upping the game a little bit more. Keynote is both an app for your MacBook and it's an app on the iPad. And I did this little project as part of a little training seminar with Apple. And what I'm going to try and do, if I can get this to work off of the Google Doc, is actually put a link to the Keynote file to see if you can download it. So that'll be something to look at later once all the dust settles. But basically the idea is that you could have some older students create either on the iPad or in the lab using the Keynote app, if you have that installed, create a slide that has a short little blurb about a book. And this one was imagined that an older class would pick their favorite picture book and then present that to a younger audience. So I have 2 examples on the next couple of slides. One was an example that I did on the iPad itself, and the second was an example that I did on the desktop version. But basically, you have the students put in the book cover, an animated element from the book, a character from the book, a little object that moves or slides or bounces, and then you create a short little video either on the iPad itself using the camera, or you could use the camera on the MacBook, and then you just insert that video into Keynote, and the slides can be assembled until you have essentially a show that then you could take into a primary classroom and have a little, essentially a little movie, set of little movie trailers. So the first one here was just Cat in the Hat, and so when you actually run this slide, so this is a still, but if you run the slide in Keynote, the Cat in the Hat cover spins around, the cat comes in off stage left, the fishbowl drops down into the hand, and then the video starts, and it's just me talking. And then likewise, doing it in on the desktop version, again, the cover spins, the car zooms in from down below, and you notice that in the video I'm actually inside the book, and I've done that using the photo booth program on the MacBook. I've just recorded myself with photo booth, and it allows you to put in different backgrounds. So I found a screenshot from the book itself. I ducked out of the way and put that in the background, and then when I put my head back up to do the recording, it looks like I'm inside the book. So that's kind of a cool idea. Kids can work on the slides separately, and you can assemble them all into a finished product that you could show to a set of kids. You could run it in a loop as kind of a kiosk for open house or student-led conferences, that kind of thing. Any questions about that? Thanks.
I like the simplicity of your designing for the primary market and how the kids would really like that combination, right?
Well, and I think I think this is the sort of thing that's very doable for intermediate kids, and I think the idea of that connection of picking your favorite picture book, and so the older kids are working a little bit of technology skill and playing with that, thinking about what's appealing and what can I say and what's important. And because their audience is younger, they feel, my sense is that they don't feel that it's a critical audience, that it's an accepting audience, it's an interested audience. And particularly if they're doing them for their reading buddies, for example, that can be that can be a fun way of promoting the books. Okay, so let's just go on to the next section here. So the next section is talking about using big, huge labs. So again, if you just want to do a hands up or a yes or something, if you're familiar with big, huge labs, if you've seen big, huge labs in action. Okay, let's see what. Okay, so a couple of people have seen that. Okay, a couple of people have heard about it. Okay, so right. Okay, so. Jennifer says Donnie pointed it out to her. So I love big, huge labs because it's a place where the idea really is that you upload pictures of your own and you get to turn it into merchandise. So you can put a picture on a cup or create a calendar or that kind of thing. And you can create an account on Big Huge Labs, which means that the pictures that you create, the finished product that you create, you save them virtually. Now, what's nice about this is that if down the road you decide you want to have the actual cup made or the calendar printed or whatever, you can, and there's a cost to that, and they'll ship it to you. But you can do lots of fun things with the images themselves, and you don't have to buy anything. So you can massage the pictures, turn them into something, and then download that image file and just print it and use it yourself. It's not going to be on glossy paper. It's not going to be super fantastic quality, but depending on what you want to do, you can have a lot of fun with it. And I often pair Big Huge Labs with an online site called LunaPic. So LunaPic allows me to take pictures and play with them, change the look of them, crop them, the size of them, etc. And then I can take that finished picture and upload it to Big Huge Labs to do stuff with it. So let me just walk you through some of these options here. So if we talk about LunaPic first, so this is an example of a screenshot from LunaPic, you can see that there's a spot in the middle for me to open a picture from a URL. So if I found a picture online that I want to use, then I can just paste it in and use it. And there's other places that I can take pictures too as well, from Facebook or Instagram or what have you. But there is that blue browse button underneath edit a photo, which allows me to look for a photo on my desktop or in my pictures on my device, and then I can play with the picture and edit it. I should mention too, the nice thing about LunaPic is that even though it's a web-based application, it actually does work on an iPad. So if you browse to the LunaPic page in Safari, then you can take pictures off your camera roll and massage them and then use them in other applications. So some examples of what you can do with this. So you can add effects and crop and resize and change colors and overlay two pictures. So here's just a sample. So I've got a doggy picture, as you can see, very cute. It's not my dog, I found it online. And then next to it on the right is the picture turned into a color crayon picture. Bottom left is kind of a painting almost version, and then the bottom right is a Lego version of the picture. So you can, and there's lots and lots of effects, so you can play around with them. And one of the things that I've suggested to people is that if you're having kids actually do books in something like Book Creator, which is an iPad app, if you have them put all of their pictures through one of the filters in LunaPic, so let's say the color crayon drawing, then all the pictures have that same sort of look and feel, and it almost makes it look much more like a picture book than just taking random pictures and putting them in. So anyway, that's just a little hint for you, a little clue. So let's just look at some of the things that you can do with Big Huge Labs. When you go to Big Huge Labs, there's a selection of different options, and one of them is called Movie Poster. So Movie Poster, if you choose that as an option, you get a bunch of choices. You can see on the right hand there's a mock-up of a movie poster and a place to put the movie title. There's two different taglines. At the very, very top is where you put who the actors are. At the very bottom you can put the release date, and then there's a whole bunch of little details that you can put down below, including whether it's rated G, whether it's PG-13 or whatever it happens to be. So the fun thing with something like this is you can take a book that you're trying to promote in your library, and you can upload a cover of the book and put in either the title of the book as the movie title or make up something that's going to be indicative of that. And you end up creating for yourself what looks like a movie poster, which you could print on 11 by 17. If you have a color printer, that's even better. And that's a quick way to create a display for a particular title, might be a series, etc. So I just did two really quickly with the Very Hungry Caterpillar, and I did it so quickly I should have probably played a little bit more with the colors, as you can see. But I've just found a graphic out of the book and then insert the stuff across the top. And this is the way to promote the book so that it circulates in the library. The files can be downloaded, so you can save them to, if you create, Jennifer's question was, can you save the file? If I create an account on Big Huge Labs, then anything I create gets saved in my account. But even if I don't create an account, I can still download the finished product. I don't have to have an account to do that. So if I'm just going to do a one-off really quickly, then I can, then it's good to go. What's nice too is, as you're creating your movie poster, you can go back and edit it, even without having an account, as long as you don't leave the page. So there'll be an edit button when you look at your final product, and you can change the color of your titles, change the font of your titles, change, you have some options around the background colors and things like that. So that's kind of fun. It makes it an interesting way to do a book report where you might have, the book might be divergent, let's say, so you might have them use the book title as the movie title, but then choose an image that illustrates something about the book and then present that. So that could be kind of fun. They wouldn't have to be printed either. They could go on your blog, or if you've got students, they could go on student pages, etc. Questions about that? Can you see where you might use it?
So I know that when we made our banners for Red Cedar, we had one teacher use the Big Huge Labs just to make a long banner. So must be a different app on here, but just a long banner that printed over several pages and then attached them together.
Yeah, there's a number of different options in there. So the fun thing is exploring them. So let me show you another couple of things here. So it also lets you create magazine covers. And so what's nice about this is you can change the colors, change the layout, change the quote-unquote articles that go with that. What's nice is it looks very much like a magazine. You've got the barcode down below. You can put a price. You can see in the bottom of the one on the left, the February issue, it says priceless instead of the price. You can use it to promote kids reading in your library. You can use it to promote programs in your library. And these could be printed, if you have a color printer, and slipped into a plastic sleeve and just seeded in among your magazines if you have print magazines in your library. Donnie says maybe primaries and intermediates can co-write a sequel to a favorite picture book with this app. Yeah, I mean there's lots of things, either a movie sequel or, in the case of the magazine, you might have a grade 6 project where you need a cover for the project. What would be fun is using the magazine cover as the cover of the book. Let's say it's a poetry project or something like that. You could make it, the grade 6 poetry magazine as your cover, and then maybe some of the titles of some of the poems show up on the front. It's a lot of fun, and if you can, for your own kids, if you have, a couple of magazine covers with your own school or your own classroom or something, peeking out at them when they walk by the magazine rack, you might get a little interest there. So here's another thing that I think people have seen before, and that's the read poster, and that's the motivator template that they provide. So the American Library Association ran a read program with celebrities a few years back, and you can actually still buy those posters. You can still order them, and this is using the motivational poster template. So you can upload a picture of anybody in your school reading. So you can either catch them reading or pose them reading. It could be your janitor, it could be your principal, could be the secretary, could be a group of kids, could be the student of the week, you know, could be the lunch lady volunteer. Have them read, and then simply upload that picture, make the motivational message read, and then you can put some kind of a little tagline underneath. These can be, again, downloaded. You can print them on just a regular size paper, but if you wanted to, you could get the file and you could take it to a Kinko's or something and have it printed on larger paper. These are great because they feature people from around the school, and even if you don't want to print them, again, you can put them on your blog, put them on the school website or the library website. Very easy to do. You could do a whole set of them in probably about, I don't know, 20 minutes by just snapping some pictures on your iPhone around the school, and then uploading them one by one, and then transforming them into posters, and there you go. It's a great way to promote a reading culture in the school. And if they can be goofy poses of reading people, even better. Okay. Another feature that Big Huge Labs allows you to do is to create badges. So it's kind of like the Hello My Name Is, except you can upload whatever you want on there. So you can, you know, they have a member since or an expiration date. The top thing where it says library page, you can make that say anything you want. The bottom one where it says library helper, you can also make that say anything you want. And then you can put the student's name in. There's a little place underneath to put a blurb, either about the student or for them to say something about themselves. The barcode is a meaningless barcode, and you can't change that. That's just the way it is. But of course, there we've got the student picture in there, which is kind of fun. And so that could be for your library pages. If you had, you know, school newspaper, you might create press passes or something like that. But you know, what I like about these is that they make kind of for a fun little extra that just makes the kids happy or interested in popping into the library. Yeah, my school newspaper staff a few years ago created press cards. Yeah, see, these look great, and you can, of course, you could size them any size you want, and you could print them. This one in particular, you could print actually on large labels, and then they could be detachable, and you could just, you know, paste them on. That would be kind of fun to do.
Or you could laminate them in half.
Right, absolutely, yeah. So then they could flash their library card. You know, it's sort of a get out of detention free because now I've got to go and work in the library. One of the other things that they have is a trading card, option. And so I just did two up here. You'll notice the one on the right, the title was too long and it kind of ran off the end. So you might have to be a little strategic about how you name them. So each of these cards that you create has a place for a title, it has a place for an image, and so I've just, you know, looked for covers of books. You can see that there's some little icons down the right side of each of the pages, and there's probably about 40 different icons that you can choose from. So some of them are thumbs up or thumbs down. There's a whole range of things. You could make those stand for something. You could have them stand for the genres, and even have the little blurb at the bottom. What's cool with this is you could then have a bunch for you know, the new book, and maybe the first few times the book circulates, the kids get a trading card along with the book, and then maybe there's some incentive to trying to collect the trading cards or pass them around or what have you. There might be some gaming opportunities with those, or they could be part of a display, or they could be part of a prize. So yeah, so there could be some fun ways to use these. I'm sure there's probably some fun ways to use them. These are just sort of things off the top of my head. The Richmond TLs say, great way to promote Reader's Choice Contest. Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with that.
The other thing I can see, I'm always looking for bookmarks that are in French, so I could see making these and just putting them in my book, you know, promoting the book and then having them in my bookmark bin so that the students would pull it out and think, oh yeah, I haven't read that one yet. I'm going to go look for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing about the trading card template is that none of the stuff that prints is actually in any particular language. So all of the fields are, you can determine what goes in those fields, right? So it could be, you could have instead of the book title, you could have something relating to the book. You could have a clue down below. The image could be suggestive of the book, and maybe the idea is find which book this is, right? So yeah, we're still in Big Huge Labs. Yeah, these are all things. These are all in Big Huge Labs. Now you can actually make the trading cards, and if this was something that you really wanted to, I don't know, really promote, you could actually make them and have them professionally printed and then delivered, and then you could have some kind of a bookish game around it. So there's some great possibilities, especially as Jennifer says. Yeah, use cards with lit circles to show the books you've read. Perfect, right? You've got your 5 titles, your 4 titles. Maybe the idea is you want to collect all the titles, and then, you know, or maybe you have a bunch of titles that you've read as a class, and they go in a bin, and then they get pulled out, and then that's the one you need to talk about. You know, you have a 30-second talk on this book or that book. So yeah, it could be lots of fun. You could also do them on characters in a novel. So you could just make them up with character names and some kind of again, an image that's suggestive, and then a little bit of a blurb down below. And maybe students could try to match the character with the novel they're from. So that could be kind of fun. Yeah, it could be. You could do a whole reading culture activity around these trading cards. Yeah, or you could, Dewey. Sure, absolutely. So the Dewey number could actually, if you're doing a nonfiction activity, you could have, you know, dogs and then a picture of a dog, and then somewhere down below indicate the Dewey number with you know, whatever else you might find in that area, and then have the kids go and put the card in the right spot, or go find the card, or yeah, could be a lot of fun. Yeah.
And I could see if you're doing like a reading program where kids, like a teacher may have seven or 8 novels, and the kids have to read through them, collecting them, or like a Red Cedar, how many of the 12 have you read, and as you read them, you get to collect the cards, right? Another marker of achievement. Yeah.
So the one other thing that I just love in Big Huge Labs is story cubes. So you could do story cubes or character cubes or series cubes. So the little interface for uploading gives you the 6 slots that you fill. So you pick the 6 pictures you want, you upload them, and then you get to determine whether you want it to have dots on it like dice, and if you want to have credits on it as, you know, sources and things, but you wouldn't have to choose those. And you could, and then you print them, and then you assemble them, so you have a die with the 6 sides. So it could be 6 characters from a novel, and then 6 things that the character might do, so it could be an extension activity. But you could just have them with covers of the 6 newest novels that you got in, and you print up a few of those, and just plunk that in your display case as a way to just kind of attract some attention around what do we have. Or maybe that's a little prize that somebody gets for the week's reading or something. Printed with a color printer and then assembled, you get a really nice keepsake or a display piece. I think it's really nice. If you were doing a Valentine's display, print up 2 or 3 different Valentine heart type dice cubes, and then just put that in with your display. So that's kind of fun. What do you think? I think I'm hearing the wheels turning out there.
And I can see having students use it to explore a novel. Like they could do like you know, the setting on one side, or different settings and different characters, or you know, activities that show the plot map. Even like I could see using it as English.
Absolutely. And what's nice is if this comes from the librarian, it's one of those things where your teachers are going, wow, you know, there's all these great ideas coming to the library. You know, I love the library. We've got all this stuff. Richmond TL say an active learning activity. Yeah, there's all kinds of neat things. So we just have a few more things to talk about before we run out of time. Boy, the time's flying. So here's another app for the iPad, which is great. So it's called Superimpose, and you can put two pictures together. So you upload one picture, make it a background. You upload the second picture and use a masking feature to subtract everything except for the part that you want. And then you overlay the pictures. And what's nice is then if you have multiple things you want to put in, you then save the foreground and the background together as one picture, and then you add the next piece, and then you add the next piece. So here we've got, you know, this great little picture of a kid reading against the background with dragons flying around him. And I don't know if you know Anna Crossland. She's a teacher librarian in Surrey, and she's her school is George Vanier, and they did this great activity where they found pictures, and they had kids sit against a single colored background. I think they used a green screen idea for this. Kids sitting in various poses that would work with classic pictures or action pictures or fantasy pictures, and then they just used the Superimpose app to insert them and then put them on her blog. It's just a great idea, and you could even print these as posters. Super idea. Kids were really excited about it, and it just helps create that reading culture around the school. Where will you see George Vanier students reading next? Okay, so the last thing to promote is Block Posters. Now, Block Posters is a great site because what it allows you to do is to upload any picture that you want and turn it into a multi-piece poster. So I can create a really quick window display by taking any picture at all and having it print on 2 sheets of paper by 2 sheets of paper, or 3 sheets of paper by 3, or 4 by 4. I can make my picture be whatever size I want. So a quick window display. I could take covers of books and print them as 6-foot tall books, put them up in the hallway or on the door into my to my library. You can use this to draw attention to some kind of a theme, Valentine's Day, or a program that you're running, your makerspace or a Minecraft club. And you can print it in black and white because we all have black and white printers. You print it in black and white, then you could have students color sections in a color or two, pick red or pick green or use a variety of things. And then when you assemble it, you get this kind of interesting feature. You can mount the individual pages on colored cardboard for contrast, or leave some space between the pages. Another idea would be to print out a storybook character and tape it and mount it on cardboard. And when you cut that out, you have a life-sized version of the Wimpy Kid or a life-sized version of the Cat in the Hat that you can prop up in the corner of your library or put above your desk or whatever it happens to be. You could enlarge a comic or a graphic novel or a manga page, and then finally you could enlarge student work. So just show some examples of what this, or an image of a visiting author. Yeah, that's true. So here's an example. So this is the Absolutely True Diary of Part-Time Indian cover. So I've uploaded this to Block Posters, and so you can see it gives me some options. I can choose to have this 5 pages wide by however many pages deep, and I'm going to print it in an up and down orientation. And so you can see the fine lines drawn on the cover. Each of those is going to be a sheet of paper. And so then if I have a color printer, of course I could print it in color. If not, then I would just either pick a black and white picture or find an image and then use Lunapic to make it black and white, and then upload it and then print it up that way. And then when I say create my poster, it just chugs away and then it downloads it. So it's really cool. So here's one that I did just before the session today just to show you how it would work. So this is Ms. Peregrine's home for, can't remember the name of the title off the top of my head. Yeah, it's a great book actually. It's kind of creepy, but it's great. And so I picked this one just because it happened to be a black and white image. And you can see there's the white borders, but I didn't bother trying to trim or clip or anything. I just stuck it up the way it was. Kind of looks like a French window or something. Yes, peculiar children, that's right. And it's very effective. So standing from across the room, it looks like I've got the cover blown up on the wall. You can actually control the image printing. So if your printer will let you print right to the edge of the paper, then you can actually print right to the edge of the paper. And it just makes such a neat thing. So here's some other examples of them. So, you know, printing in color, leaving space in between. There's the Eiffel Tower, so you've got some kind of a seasonal display or what have you. The Bruce Lee one, they've actually mounted it on black cardboard so that you get this kind of very visual effect. And then the one beside that is some kind of a Han Solo or something where they've actually just printed it up and glued it to cardboard and then cut it out, and now they've got a standalone guy that they can prop up in the corner of the library. So I can see lots of ways that you could promote books, programs, and this is like the one that I printed up. I glued it up, you know, pasted it up. It took me 5 minutes to print and do, and I'm done. And now I've got a display. I mean, like, how fast is that? It's just a great idea. Okay, so now back to you. Questions, ideas, suggestions. The chat box is yours. This is what we call wait time. Right? We just let you chug away. Yeah, I know. There's so much to talk about, but you know, it's a little bit of a taster, and hopefully you see something and you think, oh, I could use that. I could totally go with that. Yeah, you know, like the apps, Big Huge Labs, block posters. You know, any one of those just gives you instantly a little piece of technology that turns into this great promotional tool for your library program. Yeah, Pic Collage. Yeah, super. And what's nice with Pic Collage is you could create some things and then use them in Big Huge Labs, for example.
And a lot of these programs now are so much more user-friendly that, like Gordon's saying, because you can open it up and it'll tell you kind of what the next steps are. So it may look intimidating because there's lots, but it's definitely, it's really easy to do a lot of these because they have all that, the hints on how to put it together.
Absolutely. Richmond T. Elizabeth are saying that you work with someone's sister, Susan. That's
I do.
That's good. Okay, folks. Well, I hope that's given you some food for thought. This presentation, of course, is being recorded, and we'll get the archive link back in a day or so. And then I'll send that out again in case you want to watch some of these ideas over again. And of course, there is that goo.gl, that shortened thing, which all the links which are not clickable in this little slideshow are clickable on the Google Doc, so that'll be great. Yeah, try the giant book poster idea. I mean, it's just for fun to put it up and go, wow, you'll get such a blast from the kids, and it'll be so much fun. I just want you to talk up the webinars with your colleagues, because of course we've got 3 more coming, and they're all lots of fun. And so the next one is Go Genreification. Do you want to breathe new life into your fiction collection and jumpstart your circ stats? And that's Wednesday, March the 30th. And so thank you very much, everyone. And I think we're done for this evening, and we'll hopefully see you online in a month. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.